Let's do a day in the life of solar. It is about 8 o'clock in the morning, and this is what my situation is like. My Renogy panels are catching some sun. The sun is right there, and then at this hour in the morning, this is barely getting sun, and my 200 watt rich solar, which is hooked into my EB70, gets no sun. This one is hooked into my OG Rock Pals, and these two panels are hooked into my EcoFlow. This panel will come out in a second. I'm going to put it right here, and then I'll hook it into the Wackery, which is the chiffon. Device is straight trash, don't buy it. But I use it because it gets DC power to my other power stations because the AC adapter died on it. But that's another story. I have videos about that. All right, might as well grab this and put it out now. These panels are very unwieldy to move with one hand. Compared to those panels, they're a little bit easier to move. So I like those more. I'm thinking about trying to get rid of these and then replace them with either one of those down there, the 200 watt rich solar, or another 190 watt HQSC, which is supposed to come today. So we'll see. Now, the first thing I did this morning is my Bowden's was running my half of my internet, which is this network terminal down here. The other piece is the router, which is upstairs. This is the router upstairs. It is not powered by solar. You know, what are you gonna do? So when I got up this morning, the Bowden's had run out of juice, which is my fault because it didn't have enough juice in it to begin with to carry this like 10 watt load throughout the night, because I used it for a part of the day. So the first thing I did was I got my extension cord, which has my network terminal and typically my TV on it, and I connected it to the EcoFlow. The EcoFlow is the first one to get power in the morning. Now you can see I got the Wackery here. I'm gonna pull that outside in a second. I got the Go Labs here. What they were doing on yesterday is I was taking the remaining power from them to put into this because that runs the internet and my TV, but I ran out of juice. I mismanaged my power yesterday, which is why the Bowden's is over there in the first place. So now we back, good money. I have a better idea of how to balance or manage this today. Let's go put this outside. Now this panel right here is not supposed to be out here. The missus is supposed to be able to occupy this space without having to worry about panels, but they never back here, and there's always stuff back here, so I've just been kind of taking advantage. This is one of my more inconvenient panels because I don't run it actually into the house. So what I figured out is I'll start putting it up here, and when it rains, this never gets wet, so I don't have to worry about these plugs just sitting out here. This little dip right here is not a good use of this panel. I mean, it should be a good use of this panel, but it doesn't. It pulls in about like 30 to 40 watts. This thing is just a piece of junk. I can't rely on it, but I have it. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna get all my money's worth out of it. And it's been working out so far. So let's talk about what we got going on down here. My basement is a bit of a mess. EB70 hooked up to the rich solar. This extension cord. Once this thing starts getting power, I immediately come down here and put it on my fridge. And then that pulls about 65 watts. And it does 475 watts of surge. Then we have this Rock Pals, trusty Rock Pals. I use this. I don't necessarily like using it because it has the most proprietary plug out of everybody. It has some weird plug, whereas like that one takes 8mm, the Go Labs takes 5521, the Bowden's takes 5521, the chiffon takes 8mm, but this one gets 80 watts in, but it takes a weird plug. So what I do is I put it on its own solar panel. It pulls in 80 watts, and then I use it to charge other power stations because otherwise it would just be sitting in a corner somewhere, and I'm not into that. I like to use my power stations. So let's get this one going. I've actually taken this one when it was full and used my Bluetti EB70 charger to dump that last 288 watts into my EB70 so it lasts longer. This is my Rad Power, probably a 90 watt dual port. I use that for charging the Go Labs and phones sometimes and things like that. Now the interesting thing about this one over here is the 12 volt is not regulated, so sometimes I'm forced to use the AC adapters to transfer that power from here, from the sun, into my power stations like the Agwe or the Rock Pals. Actually, no, the Agwe. Oh, the Wackery. I sometimes charge the Wackery from here. This is the Agwe. This door does not close when it's in here. This is temporary though. I'm just doing this to take advantage of this 50 watt panel. Why not? My wife is kicking me off of this porch. But this typically sits here, takes in the sun from over there. And typically what's up here is the Bowdens. But the Bowdens I had to pull off because it was full. So I brought it downstairs to power my network terminal like I mentioned earlier. Another one that I'll bring up here is the Go Labs because they all use 5521. So I can charge the Bowdens right here, I can charge the Go Labs right here, and I can charge this Agwe right here as it's charging now. I had a dream, a dream that is far away from me now, to run an extension cord into the other room where the router is and be able to run the router off of this panel. This panel gets about 26, maybe 30 watts with how it's positioned because I don't tilt any of my panels right now. And that's good enough to run internet, right? But my wife is like, nah, I'm working on it though. I'm working on her. This is what I would typically power from solar, but I haven't done that for a long time because my wife has not been using her laptop in the last few months and it has crazy good battery life. Anything is crazy good battery life compared to this dip because it's old as dirt and it only gets about 2 hours of battery life. I have it hooked into my 100 watt rated cable. This is only rated for 65 watts and this cable produces the watts from the 100 watt port of the EcoFlow Max. Now I got some batteries charging for this camera. Typically, I usually get about 100 plus watts from my 200 watt array. Remember, it's not angled in any way. Even when the sun is kind of overhead, I get like about 130, 40, maybe on a good day. I've seen as high as 180, but that hasn't been in summer months. I think it's because the panels get too hot. When I start to get 100 watts plus, I then will entertain turning this fan on. So I like to keep the air moving in here, and it's dope to keep the room kind of cool. This floor kind of cool with the air moving from solar. I'm all about the comfort from solar. All about it. Excuse the glee on my face, right? You see all this glee? But look what came. Nice. It's about time. It took forever. So that's the panel. I basically paused the actual video for this because the sun is just messing it all up and it looks all stupid. So I'm gonna wait until the sun is more like straight so I can have this whole area full of sun, and then I'll finish the recording of this video. But it looks cool. I mean, the glass is a little weird, or the panels underneath it are a little weird. Kind of seems like there's this wavy, like the cells are like paper or something in it. Oh, while we're out here, let's look at the status. So you see both of these panels have sun on them now. So the EB70 is getting sun and the Rock Pals is getting sun. The chiffon is still charging right here. Let's see how much it's getting. Panel in sun. Let's look at this piece of 33 watts. I feel like it should be getting more than 33 watts, but I don't care. Any power is decent power. And what I mean by that is I don't have necessarily anything else that can use this amount of power. I need to get it together and figure something out. I feel like it should be pulling more than 30 watts. Maybe I should hook up the Go Labs to it and see what kind of power it pulls. Let's do that. Trusty Go Labs is at 2%. So let's see what it gets. This can max out at about 55. So this should be a good test. I'm pretty sure this thing is gonna pull in more than 32. But I could be wrong, you know? I'm no expert. Off the rip, 45, 44. I mean, I expected it to kind of max it out, but it's not doing that. The crazy thing about this Wackery is that its screen is largely inaccurate. So it could have actually been getting 45. Oh, you know what? I got a better idea. Let's test the amps, because this screen is wonky. So let's see what kind of amps the Go Labs is pulling, and let's see what kind of amps this is pulling. Let's see, the Go Labs is still on. We'll come here. Clamp it up. Sun's intensity is getting a little stronger, so it went up to 3 amps. Right? 3.3 is getting brighter, going up to 4. And then you have to assume that based on it getting 45 watts, that this dip is probably running at about 15 volts, which is what I suspected of these power stations the whole time. But I never had a power station that showed me the watts so I could do the calculation. Let's pop in the wackery, the trashery. 39, 59, 53, 39, 33. And the sun is largely the same. So you can see that's saying 33 watts. Let's see what our watt meter says. Let's pull it off, make sure it's good. I don't know if you can see that, but it says 0.2. Now it's back to 0. 1.6 amps, which is kind of weird. Very strange. 1.6, 1.7, pulling in 33 watts. So what kind of volts does this have to be pulling to get 30 watts off of 1 point? I don't think it's getting 30 watts then. I'm almost certain that it's not. Because if you think this process is about 15 volts, 15 volts times 1.7, that's barely 30. It's a weird device, man. It's a piece of junk. Piece of junk, straight from the whack factory, the wackery. So it doesn't make any sense to waste my power on this one. I might as well just max this one out at its 60 whenever it gets hot enough to do it. 45 watts. I'm just gonna go with that one. Piece of crap. I'll probably take it downstairs and then charge it with the rock pals from the AC adapter. Because the rock pal is not being regulated, I can't rely on it to go cigarette lighter to this one's port. Because once it falls below a certain voltage, the power draw is going to drop completely. So I just got to go AC. I mean, the rock house is going to get full, so I dump it into this one, and then this one can hold more power. So then I dump that into power stations in the evening or during the night to get them lasting a little longer. So just for all things to be considered, the Go Labs is plugged in, and then look at the amp rating, 2.8. Let's take it off and make sure it's still good. It went down to 0.2. Pop it back on. 2.8. So hilarious, man. This freaking chiffon is a piece of junk. It's falling apart. The only saving grace that it has is that it can still charge and still put out power through the 12-volt socket. The AC doesn't work, and the USB is pretty much useless for the size of battery because it does no fast charging and it doesn't have USB-C. But I only spent 125 bucks on it. So 500 watts through the 12-volt at 100 watts a pop to certain devices that can take it, it'll get the job done. Somebody offered to take it off my hands if I ever got to the point where I wanted to junk it. Let's take it downstairs and throw some power into its useless self. While we are down here, let's take care of a couple things. Let's get the fridge on the EB70. Hopefully I can show you the power spike. 97 watts, that's great. So bam. I don't typically like to leave that on stuff. I wanted to kind of be free flowing. And then we'll power this on. 440, 438. All right, that's enough of that. I need the power thing for the, okay, it just turned off. I heard it click. So the fridge just turned off. So it did what it had to do to check the temperature, I suppose. And now it's like, we don't need no power, so we just gonna be chilling. I don't know if I have the power adapter in here for this. I think I have the Agwe power adapter in here. Yeah, that smaller one is the Agwe. Where's the power adapter for this pizza? So that one's at 10.6. That means nothing to me. I don't understand battery voltages. No power adapter here. All right, let me find that. All right, I guess I gotta turn the light on in here. So you can see the rock house is giving it 110 watts. Now, I don't know how long that's gonna last because this only pulls in 80 watts. So it'll be constantly every hour drawing an extra 20 to 30 watts to pump into this one. So it may have to turn off at some point. but I'd much rather the power in this one because it's bigger and the voltage seems to be regulated on here, whereas like that one is not. So even if I put the power into that one, it's only 288 watt hours. So that wouldn't be dumping a whole lot. I'd much rather have that power go in through here or pass through to here and fill us up, even though it's a piece of garbage. So look at what we have here. Speaking of being upstairs with solar, I had to take a call and I had to bring my laptop up, and it's being powered from this. Now, just a cool little tidbit. This is an older Lenovo laptop, and I got this USB-C to Lenovo Square yellow plug. And I have it plugged in to the USB-C of the Agwe, which is plugged in to the 50-watt panel. So that works out, right? Y'all tell her missus did not kick me out of here. She wildin'. I don't mind it though. I'm still working on it though. And I actually just moved the Renogy panel from over here to over here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Freaking wasp. So as you can see, the EcoFlow Max, well, maybe you can't see, but it's pulling in about 87 watts and it's using about 50. The boat end is right here charging from my nifty 5521 to 5521 cable. It's getting about 40 watts. The last little bit of power usage is whatever I have left in here throughout the day usually goes to power my internet for the remainder of the day. And we generally get into watching TV towards the evening, so it'll power my TV. My TV only uses 50 watts. The network terminal that's over there uses about 10, so it's 60 watts of power. This is 588 watt hours. It definitely gets less when you start pulling it through the AC adapter or anything else for that matter. So you get about a good, what? I don't math well, so especially not on the spot. Now how my days might look a little different going forward is now that I got that HQST panel and my two Renegys are kind of like free now, I could have a panel out here soaking up this last little bit of sun, which is going to go on for another like 2 hours or so. And then that could power this for the remainder of the sun being out. And then after the sun goes, then I can put it on the EcoFlow Max. Actually, if I had the panel out front and if I had it coming in here like I wanted to, see that hole down there? I'd be able to power this pretty much all day from my rigid panel. Now, my kids sometimes play in this front yard, so ideally what I would want while the sun is in the back is to put my panel right over there in that corner. Just out of the way, run a line along the fence, and then right into here, into an extension cable, MC4 extension cable, and then come in and power this whole zone through some power station. It'll probably be like the Rock Pals or something that I don't really use a whole lot. That's why it's down in the freaking garage. Yeah, so holla.